Hi everyone, my name is Dorcas and I'm one of the IELTS tutors at Dreams Consult. In today's lesson, I will be taking you through writing the introduction to your IELTS Writing Test 1 academic essays. And I know for a lot of you, it's a big challenge, especially when you have to write your Test 1 and Task 2 essays. But in this lesson and other ones, we're going to take you through simple but effective methods of getting a band 7 and above in your writing. Let's get started, and we are today going to look at just the introduction for the Task 1 essays, like I said in the beginning. So, like you are aware by now, the Writing Test 1 academic essay has to do with you writing an essay of 150 words based on a diagram that would be given to you on the day. And the structure of the question is such that you have a description of the diagram in the beginning of the question. And that description will give you the basic information about the diagram that you are looking at. Then you would have the instruction part that asks you to summarize the information contained by selecting and reporting the main features and making comparisons where relevant. To get your introduction, you would have to paraphrase the description that would be given to you. And what do we mean by paraphrasing? You need to say the same thing that the description is saying, but you need to employ different words, and these different words are synonyms. To convey the same information, you don't have to change the information, you don't have to change the meaning of the information contained in the description, even as you paraphrase. And this is the introduction that you're supposed to write. So to make it more practical, we'll look at a question, a typical Test 1 question, and would look at how to solve that particular question. So I would share with you the question, and then we'll look at how to go about it. So the question, as you can see, is the graph below shows the different modes of transport used to travel to and from work in one European city in 1960, 1980, and 2000. This is the description. This highlighted portion of the question is the description you have of this particular diagram that focuses on modes of transportation used in one European city in 1960, 1980, and 2000. So to get your introduction, you're supposed to paraphrase this highlighted part of the question. And like I said, paraphrasing means you need to just say the same thing that the description is saying using different words. And there are very simple but effective ways of paraphrasing. And so we'll look at how to paraphrase. But first of all, we need to identify certain keywords that we have in the description so that we focus on them as we want to paraphrase this particular description. So you have a word such as graph. It is key. It's telling you what the diagram is, what type of diagram you're looking at. It's a graph. Then we look at a word such as shows, different modes, transport, use, travel to and from work, European city, 1960, 1980, and 2000. These are the keywords you have in this particular description. So how do you go about paraphrasing these keywords? There are some 5 strategies that I want us to focus on, and we'll try as much as possible to look at all these 5 in relation to the description that we have so that we can understand how to paraphrase the description. So the first that you have to look at is replacing keywords with synonyms. Replacing keywords with synonyms. You need to look at certain keywords that you have in the description and replace them with replace them with synonyms. Sorry about that. So what do we mean by synonyms? You're looking at a word or a group of words that are similar in meaning to the keyword that you have. Words that have the same or similar meaning as a keyword that you have. So even as you are looking at replacing keywords with synonyms, you need to pay attention to what we refer to as context. And what do we mean by context? We are looking at what the information is about. We are looking at what the information is talking about. Is it talking about modes of transport? Is it talking about exercises? Is it talking about building? Is it talking about football? What exactly is it talking about? That is the context of the description. And this is important because words, or for some words, they have so many synonyms, but not all of them would fit into a particular context. For example, we have the word big. If you're looking at big and you want to get synonyms for this word, you can think about huge, you can think about momentous, you can think about obese, you can think about overweight. These are synonyms of the word big, but not all of them are appropriate or correct. If you're, let's say, thinking about a building, so you say this is a big building, this is a huge building, this is a gargantuan building. You cannot say this is an overweight building or an obese building. No, it is inappropriate. Although overweight and obese are synonyms of the word big. So this is what we are referring to as context, even as you think about synonyms. So in the description that we are looking at, we'll look at some of the keywords over there and some synonyms that we can use to replace them as we paraphrase the description that we have. So we have a word such as shows. Shows. We can replace shows with illustrates or reveals or indicates. And I've put into bracket, not divulges. We cannot use divulges, although divulges is a synonym of shows. And the reason is that if we say to divulge, it means to provide an information in secret. And this is not what the description is saying. That is why we cannot use the word divulge as a synonym to replace shows in this particular context. We have another word such as different. We can replace it with diverse, various, varying, varied. And of course, not incompatible, because we are not saying that the modes of transport as contained in the question are not compatible. That's not what you're saying. So we cannot use compatible as a synonym for different in this particular context, although in another context, compatible could be used as a synonym. We have another keyword, modes. We can replace that with means, forms, types. Used, we can use employed, utilized. To travel to and from work, we can replace these words with commute. And the reason is that commute means to travel to and from work. That is why commute is very appropriate to be replaced with to travel to and from work. We have one, you can use a, you have city, you can use town. So when you're replacing keywords with synonyms, these are some examples with regard to the question that we are looking at. So this is the first strategy that you can use when you are paraphrasing a description. Let's look at the second thing that you can do if you want to paraphrase a description. You can, in place of replacing keywords with synonyms, you can add qualifying words. And what do we mean by adding qualifying words? You can add words or a word to the keyword that you have to clarify the meaning of the keyword, to add some meaning to the keyword so that whoever is reading your essay would have a better understanding of the word that was used in the description. When we look at the question or the description that we are focusing on, you have a word such as the graph. It tells you the graph below. Let's say you want to paraphrase the word graph. You want to paraphrase the word graph because that is what the question said. You can add the qualifying word bar. You can add the qualifying word bar to graph so that it gives a better understanding. The reader gets a better understanding of what type of graph the diagram is. So bar graph, the person now gets a clearer picture. So you're not talking about a line graph, but a bar graph in this particular question. So bar is the qualifying word that you are adding to graph to give the reader a better sense of what type of diagram you are looking at. This is the second strategy when you're looking at paraphrasing the keywords or the description that you have on a particular diagram. The third thing you can do is to modify the class of the word. To modify the class of the word. And what do we mean by modifying the class of the word? For every word that you have in English, it belongs to a class. And these classes include verbs, nouns, adjectives, prepositions, pronouns, and so on and so forth. So if you look at a particular keyword and it belongs to, let's say, the class of a verb, you want to change it from a verb to a noun, or from a verb to an adjective or to a pronoun, or even within the same class of a verb, you want to change it from the present tense to the past tense, or from the present tense to the present continuous. It's an acceptable way of paraphrasing in IELTS. And we'll look at some keywords we have in the description we are focusing on for this lesson, and we see what to do. So we are looking at transport, and then European. To paraphrase transport, which in this context, if you look at the question that we have, it says the graph below shows the different modes of transport. So transport as used in this particular description is a noun. You want to paraphrase this noun. You can stay within the same class of noun, but use a different form. So you use the word transportation as the paraphrase version of transport. And it's acceptable if you're looking at writing your introduction. Then another word is European, used as an adjective in the description. You can use Europe as a paraphrase version. So you move it from the class of an adjective to the class of a noun. This is the third strategy you can use when you want to paraphrase a description. Then the fourth option that you have is to give examples. You can give examples as a way of paraphrasing. Give examples. So you look at a keyword or some keywords that you have, and you don't want to replace them with synonyms. You don't want to modify the class of the word. You don't want to add qualifying words. You can give examples. So going back to the description that we have European city. European city. You don't want to do any of the three options that we've talked about so far. You just want to give an example. So European city and European, as European, because European doesn't start with a vowel, a European, not an European. So a European city such as London in the United Kingdom. You've given an example of what the description means by European city. This is acceptable when you want to paraphrase the description. Then the last option that you have is to maintain the keyword that you have. Sometimes it's not really necessary to paraphrase some particular words. Examples are prepositions or dates that you have, or time frames, if you want to use a better word, time frames, because they may move beyond just dates to, let's say, looking at the days of the week. So we want to clamp them we want to look at them together as time frame. So if you have time frames, you have prepositions, you just want to maintain the keyword as such. So we have in the description, we are looking at the preposition in. You want to leave it like that. You have 1960, 1980, and 2000. You may want to leave that also as was used in the description. So these are the 5 strategies that you have available when you want to paraphrase the description as you write the introduction. Note that it's very necessary that you paraphrase, because you cannot lift verbatim the description that you have as your introduction. You will be awarded no marks for that. So you need to paraphrase the description. Look for synonyms, qualifying words. You also give examples at a certain point as you paraphrase. So let's go back to the question that we have been looking at for today's class, and let's try our hands on writing an introduction for this particular one. I just want to this is the description that we've been looking at. The graph below shows the different modes of transport used to travel to and from work in one European city in 1960, 1980, and 2000. Even as you look at all the 5, methods of paraphrasing, you need to think about how grammatical these words come together to form a very complete sentence. And bear in mind, a sentence should have a subject and a predicate, and it should convey a complete thought. So think about grammaticality as you write your introduction. You're not just stringing a group of words together when they don't fit in grammatically or when they don't convey a complete information. No. Then you may have an introduction, all right, But when the examiner is focusing on grammatical range and accuracy as an assessment criterion of your writing task 1, then you would score a very low mark over there. So make sure that you think about grammar even as you think of paraphrasing the description that you have. So I want to show you an example of an introduction that I have based on this particular question. So the graph below shows the different modes of transportation used to travel to and from work in one European city in 1960, 1980, and 2000. So I would have the bar graph. And you don't need below, the preposition below. The reason is that when you are tackling any task 1 question, you would only have the diagram on the question paper, not on your answer sheet. So you don't need to bring the preposition below or its paraphrase version when you're writing the introduction. So we ignore that preposition and move on to the next keyword. So the bar graph illustrates the varied means of transportation employed, used to, so used in place of used, I'm using employed. To travel to and from work, I would use the word commute. So employed in commuting, commuting in a town in Europe in 1960, 1980, and 2000. This is the paraphrase version that I have of the description of the diagram. The bar graph illustrates the varied means of transportation employed in commuting in a town in Europe in 1960, 1980, and 2000. I have paraphrased the description and I do not have any grammatical issues with the sentence that I have. And so I'm likely to get a very good mark for my introduction. You need to focus on 1, the assessment criteria, and these are task achievements, lexical results, grammatical range and accuracy, as well as coherence and cohesion. Then you need to focus on paraphrasing, getting different words to convey the same information that you have. I hope this has been helpful. You can reach us at www.dreamsconsult.com or on 0245 499 or 024 6170. And you know that all your IELTS issues and challenges would be sorted. I'll see you in the next lesson. Have a great day and goodbye.